Hey there, and welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're jumping straight into a totally fascinating medical mystery. We're going to look at how an old, everyday home remedy might actually help us solve a massive global health crisis. It's a perfect, almost unbelievable example of traditional wisdom colliding right into cutting-edge microbiology. To really wrap our heads around the immense scale of the problem we're facing here, consider this. More than 400 million people get a urinary tract infection every single year. 400 million. That is a staggering number. And to put that into an even sharper, more personal perspective, epidemiological studies estimate that over half of all women will develop at least one of these infections in their lifetime. So, we're not talking about some rare, isolated issue. This is a major, everyday burden on global public health. So who is the primary villain behind the vast majority of these infections? It's E. coli. And for a really long time, doctors have prescribed the antibiotic fosfomycin as the standard, go-to first-line treatment to just knock it out. But, well, here's the major issue literally keeping scientists up at night. E. coli is evolving. Increasing multi-drug resistance is making it so much harder to cure these everyday infections. And that is driving an incredibly urgent search for alternative approaches to treatment. Which brings us to part 1, evolution of a folk remedy. It's crazy how fast our understanding of this remedy has evolved. Like decades ago, the common belief was simply that the high acidity of cranberry juice created this harsh environment that just killed off the bacteria. Makes sense, right? Well then, in more recent years, science got a little more precise. Studies found that specific compounds in the juice actually blocked bacteria from physically attaching to the cells lining the urethra. But present day, we are looking at a complete paradigm shift. Researchers have just discovered that it might actually boost the power of the antibiotics themselves and, get this, suppress bacterial resistance entirely. This whole new shift in our understanding comes from an incredible new study published literally just this week in the journal Applied and Environmental Microbiology. The researchers published preliminary but incredibly promising findings showing that cranberry juice might actually lend a critical helping hand to antibiotics that are currently, losing their edge against superbugs. Let's dive into exactly how that works in part 2, unlocking the sugar channels. To figure all this out, the researchers took lab-grown uropathogenic E. coli strains and exposed them directly to the juice. And what they found was wild. In a staggering 72% of the strains tested, cranberry juice didn't just significantly boost the killing power of the antibiotic fosfomycin, it actively stopped resistance mutations from emerging. The bacteria were essentially completely blocked from developing a defense mechanism against the drug. It brilliantly illustrates what's known as a Trojan horse mechanism. Okay, picture this. First, unidentified compounds within the cranberry juice induce the bacteria to increase its uptake of sugars. It basically tricks the bacteria into thinking a feast has arrived. Because of this, step 2 kicks in. The microbe eagerly opens its nutrient entry channels way wider to consume the sweet treat. And then, boom, step 3. The antibiotic, fosfomycin, uses those exact same open channels to flood right into the bacterial cell. So the bacteria opens its doors thinking it's getting a sugary meal from the juice, but the antibiotic sneaks right in through the open channel. It's amazing. Now, you might be wondering why the Cranberry Institute, who funded this research, wanted to study specifically on everyday cranberry juice instead of, say, highly concentrated, purified laboratory extracts. Well, the researchers, led by Dr. Eric Daziel, had actually already proven that cranberry extracts had a synergistic effect with antibiotics in previous lab studies. But the shift to studying the juice simply comes down to looking at what everyday people actually consume. After all, people naturally drink a glass of juice with breakfast, right? They aren't generally sipping highly specific laboratory extracts. The goal here was to see if the common beverage sitting right there in your refrigerator holds that same synergistic power. But there is a catch, which we'll cover in part 3, lab results versus real life. While the synergy between the juice and the antibiotic is undeniable in a petri dish where the pathogens are directly exposed, the complex human digestive system is a completely different battlefield. When you drink a glass of juice, it undergoes intense digestion. And right now, it's honestly completely unknown if the active metabolites survive that process to actually reach the infection site down in the urinary tract. The lead author, Dr. Daziel from the Institut National de la Recherche Scientifique, is super clear about these limitations. He cautions that, while the results are highly promising, future clinical studies are absolutely needed to see if actually drinking the juice confers the same benefits we see in the lab.
Furthermore, even if it does work in the human body, scientists still have no idea how much juice would even be required to trigger that Trojan horse effect. Like, are we talking a single glass, a gallon? We just don't know yet.
Which leads us to part 4, fighting antibiotic resistance. Dr. Dazil's lab focuses intensely on understanding and disrupting bacterial communication. And what this study really highlights is the incredible potential of adjuvants. If you haven't heard that term, adjuvants are natural or synthetic compounds that bolster the efficacy of existing antibiotics. This research proves that natural compounds acting as adjuvants might be our absolute best new frontier in the fight against dangerous multidrug resistance. And this is vital because using adjuvants completely bypasses the incredibly slow, incredibly expensive need to develop entirely new drugs from scratch. With pathogens evolving as quickly as they do, working from many different directions to save our existing drugs is absolutely essential. So, as the American Society for Microbiology continues to advance these vital microbial sciences, we really have to ask ourselves, will the future of fighting superbugs rely on giving our old drugs a natural boost? Could natural compounds be the hidden key to saving our failing antibiotics? It's a fascinating question, and one that proves sometimes the most revolutionary medical advancements are hiding right there in our own kitchens.